Happy New Year, El Capitan.
Same to you guys.
Any resolutions on your list aside from actually watching some of the horror movies I recommend?
Yeah, why, yes. Number one, become better organized.
And number two?
Number two, wait a minute. Number two. I can't seem to find my notes.
Yeah, we're boned. Hello and welcome everybody to MonsterKid Fury, technically MonsterKid Central, because we now have extra people with us from the MonsterKid Central website. Let's see, Kathy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Hello. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you, guys.
We love seeing your face too. Thank you so much for being here.
It's my pleasure.
And of course, as you guys remember, Rich of MonsterKid Central.
Howdy.
And Rick of Film Fury.
Hola.
And of course, I'm Callie,
Yay.
your editor, producer editor.
Yeah, producer editor. In fact, here we have both of the strongest arms of the full business. We've got Callie and we've got Kathy.
Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And then there's
both very much editors in our fields.
Yes,
we are.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm just glad that Kathy is real and not an AI bot because we've only seen her picture and I'm talking to her on Facebook only.
Yeah.
That's right. Now you know.
What about Jingle Jaws? Wasn't that great?
It was so freaking good. I have listened to that. It's a shame that they limit you to only showing one because we would have like 600 hits by now because, oh my God, anytime I'm like a little bit down or I'm just, if I'm writing and it's like just, gotten to me and I'm kind of up to here with it, I come over, sit in the recliner and listen to Jingle Jaws about 6 times. And then I go back to work.
The animation, man, I busted up laughing.
Oh, yeah.
When the dead shark comes down. Oh my God, that's my favorite bit. That is wonderful.
Yeah, it is. It is. I absolutely love that.
You guys are the real stars, though. Sorry.
Please.
I had forgotten about our skit actually too. I had forgotten the whole thing about she shut me down on the Rob Zombie Valentine. It's like that was me. That was very good acting, and I'm like, oh yeah.
Well, Randy and I are going to enjoy that this evening, so we're looking forward to it. Can't wait.
Good. Good. Yeah, she's got a great husband who is not like a big time horror fan. He likes movies and stuff, and he likes TV, but he's not so he's not as much as we all are. And but he's a cool guy, and he goes along with a lot of stuff that I would say to her, okay, you got to watch Walking Dead, and she'd get him involved, and sure as shit, he was involved.
Right. And he also absorbs a lot of my enthusiasm because I'll name somebody from, say, Dark Shadows or some show, and he'll know about them. I'll be amazed. He'll say, oh, yeah, that's blank, or they did this or that. And I'm just amazed that he even knows that.
And he's paying attention.
He's paying attention, and he said, well, I couldn't live with you all these years and not have picked that up. So
that's true.
Sounds really similar to what I do with Ricky, because the funny thing, he's the one who got me into watching horror stuff since I'm not a horror person anyway. And over the years of doing conventions and selling gray market materials, I've gotten through osmosis and through him, just listening to him talk to people about the movies that we're selling, I pick up on tidbits as well. So I understand what your husband has been going through. He's inundated with this stuff that you love, and like you said, you have the enthusiasm for. So it's the same exact thing.
It is. I kind of got that idea reading your column and everything, and I picked up on the similarity. I thought about that actually, and it is very similar.
But when someone you love something like that, you can't help but also find yourself appreciating what they appreciate about it.
Right. That's exactly right.
Well, when Kathy was in on the decision to take you on, because I told you that I talked to Eileen about it as the silent partner, and then I said to Kathy, look, she sent in 4 or 5, I can't remember what it was, mini reviews. What if we make her like the person who's not into horror? And Kathy was like, yeah, you know something, that's just weird enough to work. So
I love your story about when you pitched it to Eileen.
she went, that's not the dumbest idea you've ever had. Thank you.
I love it. I absolutely
I just
love it.
picture you guys at the kitchen table, you're drinking coffee and stuff as this goes on, like a little two-shot.
Yeah, it's to the point where you just go, thank you. I mean,
Right.
so
But it worked. It absolutely worked.
It works. It works beautifully.
Yep. It's a shame Melissa isn't here, because we told you'll know it, but Kathy, but we told Melissa, or I told Melissa, that she's the only one who submitted a column, and you just read it and went, good to go.
Yep.
And it was like,
I know.
And it was like, no, seriously, and nope, good to go. And I
Amazing.
went, holy shit.
Oh no, it's amazing.
It is. So, and the nice thing is I didn't pay Kathy that month. No, I'm just kidding. I'm telling you, I was so damned impressed with it. I read everybody's before Kathy does, just to, get an idea of what we're talking about, because she and I are going to discuss things along the way, and I want to make sure that I read them. And I thought to myself, well, this is going to be an easy one for her, because there's not a lot of changes that I saw.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is I didn't see any. And then she said, nope, good to go.
She also had the same, she was in agreement.
Yeah.
And I did read it more than once. I thought, well, there's got to be something.
Right, exactly.
There's just got to be something, but no, I couldn't find a thing. I tried. That's my job. I tried.
Yep.
And hey, when you're that good, you're that good. Melissa,
and Kathy's wonderful in that way, because what happens is I'll say, oh man, I can't believe I missed that, damn it. And she says, well, we're a team. And okay.
We are a team.
You're right. But I just, I sometimes I sit there and I think, I read that like twice. What happened? Why didn't I catch that?
I've done that myself, and I'll think, how did I miss that the first 6 to 8 times I read through this? How did I miss that?
Yep.
And then I go back, and I'm reluctant to send the thumbs up, because I think, what if I missed something? So it's interesting that way.
Yeah,
I had read an
absolutely.
article about that, and they were saying that there's something that happens with the brain that, especially if you wrote it, you're putting in the words as you read it. So if you read it, you think it's there, because
Oh.
Callie will do that to me. It's like, well, you forgot this word. I'm like, that's impossible. And I'm like,
Yeah.
and I read it 3 times. It's like, what's going on?
Right.
So you were talking about how you can't help but pick things up from especially from Rick, and the thing is that I was sitting down at the table writing one day, and Eileen was had attached herself to the Hallmark station, because that's what she does. If she's not working, she's watching Hallmark movies, and Kathy's the same way. And all of a sudden she says, and of course I can hear it in the background, oh, hey, you like Bruce Campbell? And I'm, okay, yeah, I do.
He's in one of those movies.
Yeah, he's in one of the movies. And I'm like, no. I like the Bruce Campbell that was in. And it's like, no, that's what it said. Isn't this him? And I go, I'm sure it isn't. And I continue writing, and the next thing I hear the voice, and I'm like, oh shit, really? So I stop what I'm doing. I go over, I watch the entire movie with her, because I have to, because it's Bruce Campbell.
It's Bruce.
And but it's just so funny because, you know, I don't now the first time I met Bruce Campbell, Eileen told me, make sure you tell him I think he is extremely attractive. And I
Oh.
said, yeah, I'll do that. And so I go up and I said to Bruce Campbell, I said, okay, so listen, I have good news and bad news. And he says, okay, what's the good news? And I said, the good news is my wife thinks you are really, really attractive. And he goes, oh, that's cool. He says, what's the bad news? I said, she also thinks I'm really, really attractive. And he leans back in his chair, which I'm not going to do in my brand new chair because it'll break. But he leans back in the chair and says, who's better than us? And it was like, yes.
That's a solid comeback. I like it.
Absolutely.
Right?
I love that.
Yeah,
Bruce is
it's
awesome, though.
just so great. But he is. He's just he's the best. And Rick has written about him. And I mean, it was a great column. But yeah, Rick had some dealings with him, which was pretty cool. And if you'd like to, it's New Year's. Why don't you tell us about it, Rick?
Oh, about Bruce Campbell. Okay.
Absolutely.
Wow. All right. I met him for the first time in high school, actually. We had used we were doing a program for local cable access. So for you people under like, I guess my wife's age, maybe, local cable used to allow common folk come in and learn how to use their equipment, and you could do a show. A lot of shows were about, it could be the civil ethics of the community. Some could be a botany show. One could be about how to fix your lawnmower. And we did a movie show, and it gave us access to high dollar broadcast equipment. And we hustled our way into the Fangoria Weekend of Horrors in San Jose. And Bruce Campbell was there. And we got to interview him, which was a blast. And it was just wild to look over at Ash, and we did the interview, and it was a blast, and we cut it together and everything. And probably 2 or 3 years later, right around the time Twister came out, Bruce Campbell was doing a press tour for Tornado, a Fox TV movie ripoff of Twister. And I had, coincidentally enough, been writing a script called Mr. Sin, which was kind of a Hong Kong assassin flick. And I had Bruce in mind. And I just was like, oh, this is Kismet. This is the universe working with me. Now, keep in mind, this is back in the day you could do this. He was actually live on the local broadcast station. I skipped that part. I was living in the San Francisco area. So here he was in San Francisco on TV. So I called the news station, kind of hustle the story that, hey, my name is Rick Patterson from such and such entertainment, and I needed to leave a message with Bruce Campbell, who's there today. And they took my number down, and a few days go by, and I'm like, yeah, he's not going to get back to me. And I'm watching X-Files with my brother, and my mom comes into the room and says, you have a phone call? And I'm like, oh, it must be Peter, a buddy of mine. And she's like, it's Bruce Campbell? And I'm like, no. And I pick up the phone, and yep, sure enough, you hear Bruce on the other end. Hey, Rick, how the hell are you? And I'm just like, oh my God, this is Bruce Campbell. So I recount the whole thing, meeting him back in San Jose, and I tell him I have this script. And we're talking about it, and he's like, so it's not funny chuckle kind of thing. It's like, no, this is you being serious, like you were on that episode of Homicide. And he really expressed a lot of interest, and we talked about, they were shooting Escape from LA at the time, so we talked a little about that, and he said, you'll get a blast out of it. Well, he was good, at least. And it was just crazy. I got what's called a soft green light from him, meaning if I got financing, actual funding for the movie, that he would be interested in signing on for it. And then, life happens, unfortunately, but it's a great experience that I love recounting to my kids and whoever will listen.
Yep. And that's because he is the shit. I mean, he really is great. Just a wonderful, wonderful guy. Super fan friendly and a national treasure.
Yeah. I was so angry when Ash versus Evil Dead just didn't catch on. And it's like,
Yep.
and whenever I hear the horror community say, oh, we don't have anything, it's like, no, because you screw up and you don't show up is the problem.
Yeah. because
all they had to
you
do.
did have stuff. You had that, and you had Stan Against Evil, and you
Yes.
had a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
And remember Bruce, he told people what to do. It's like, all you have to do is download the app.
And watch it through the app.
Just watch it for a second, and you don't even have to watch the whole episode.
Oh, not
It
even
will
the whole
count.
episode.
Yeah. Because
Seriously.
they don't count, many streamers will not count the viewing time, just the fact that someone clicked on. That's their concern.
Yep.
So
And the app was free.
Yeah.
Everything was free. You didn't have to be a subscriber to Stars or anything.
But I know that Rick and I did a lot of talking about it back then. It was just so great to have two shows that totally entertained you, that you could laugh at, and still had, I mean, balls to the wall horror. You know, neither of those shows were tame. I guess Ash versus Evil Dead was a little bit more
gratuitous.
Was a little, but still, I mean, you know, Stan Against Evil was no lightweight. So
can you imagine a team up?
Oh,
a team up with Stan and Ash.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I can, and I
love
want
that.
Dana Gould, he would have been on it in a heartbeat if they gave him permission to do that, to have Ash come in for an episode.
Yeah, absolutely. It would have been great. So anyhow, it was a good time that he and I both thoroughly enjoyed, and unfortunately it came to an end, and it just sucked. And I think they both left at about the same time, right, Rick?
About the same time,
Yeah.
open-ended, no real finale to either one of them. I do have a question for you, Rich. Okay, so let's go back to MonsterKid and its you know, creation. You talked to me about it probably around February, the February after my heart attack.
Yep.
How long had you already been considering the idea? When did Miss Jess come to you to say that Mondo Cult was going to end?
I think about 2 months before that, and I you know, when she told me, I said, you know, you need to do for yourself what you need to do. I said that's the most important thing. She had just lost her husband, and who was a great guy, and a terrific musician, and just you know, tops. And so I said, you need to do what you need to do. And we talked for a while, and then I hung up the phone, and it hadn't hit me that that was my only source of getting the word out there. And so I went, and I'm sitting down, and I'm watching nonsense on TV. And then all of a sudden I went, oh shit, wait a minute. I don't have any place to write anymore. And I thought, well, okay, so if I am going to do it, I guess I'm going to have to make my own place to write. And I think I immediately just talked to Kathy about it. Just, you know, what do you think of this idea? And she said, I think you'd be great. And then she said, I think she should do podcasts too. And I'm like, yeah, I don't even know what that is. So forget it. And then, you know, Rick was the second one to you know, but I said to everybody, I don't know that I can do this, but I'm sure as hell going to try. So
what was funny is when you contacted me about it, and he, you know, Rich tells, you know, remarkably wonderful, just detailed stories, you know, and he always does this thing where he says, if I've told you this before, I'm sorry. Even when he has told me something, I still listen because it's charming. It really is. And it was funny because we had been talking, for the most part, aside from talking in person, most of our talking was through Facebook, through Messenger and comments and whatnot. And again, after the heart attack, I called him and he kept in touch with me and everything. So one day he sends me a message. He's like, are you free in a bit? Because I have something important to talk to you about. I'm like, yeah, okay. So, and he's telling me the story about Miss Jess and everything, and Mondo Cult, and me stepping on his words like I do throughout our podcast unintentionally. I'm like, you're taking over Mondo Cult. That's awesome. He's like, no, it's not that. And then he goes into the rest of it. And I'm like, it's a great idea. It's a wonderful idea. And he's like, yeah, I just don't know how to make a website. I'm going to have to research that part. And I'm like, this is awesome. He's teaching himself how to make a website instead of going to someone else. And I just thought that was great.
Well, I've done that with pretty much everything. I mean, any instrument I've learned, I've learned by just talking to somebody else. Um, I tell a story to people that we would get on a bus and we would travel on that bus 15 miles to learn a guitar chord because it wasn't the kind of thing was not available online, obviously, when I was coming up. So if we found out that somebody knew how to do a B flat, it was like we had head right there. And that's the way I learned, was by listening to others. So I don't know if Eileen would agree with that, but I do listen to others. So anyway, but Kathy was on board from day one.
Uh-huh.
Emotionally on board and everything. Um, but when I said to Eileen, I don't want to edit this freaking thing. I said, I am so tired of editing. And I said I had to get it up and running. I had to do a lot of editing, and I'm editing my own stuff. And of course, I'm thinking, well, okay, so I'm going to do that thing where the mind skips words and stuff, and I'm going to miss a lot of
Um,
stuff, and it's going to look like crap. And I'm telling that to Eileen. He said she just deadpans. Gee, it's a shame that you don't know anyone who was teaching for about 35 years. And it's like, oh shit. And so that's when I called and I asked Kathy, but I would have pleaded, but I asked Kathy,
but
and
you didn't have to.
well, I
You
am so thankful of that.
An easy yes.
It
Lovely.
was very easy. It didn't take me any time to say, yes, I'd love to do that.
And I'm so pleased. I have a great team. That's the bottom line. I mean, the podcast. I I go to YouTube and I look at the podcasts and I'm like, holy crap, this is our content. I mean, I
Uh-huh.
don't know. I don't know if that's hit you, Rick, but there's a lot of stuff there, and it's like
Oh yeah.
and it's us, and I'm just absolutely just stunned by the amount of stuff that we have done. It hasn't been a year yet. I know that.
Well, I
So,
remember one of the things you kept talking about when it was funny, you kept trying to sell me, but I was sold, so it wasn't a big deal at
Yeah.
all, you know? But it was funny because he goes, "Yeah," and he goes, "These are all your pieces," and, who knows, later down the line, you could, like, write a book, and you just put each column, and I'm like, "I'm never gonna write enough columns to get into a book," and I'm still not there, but it is cool to scroll and go through,
oh,
"Wow, this is how many
absolutely.
things I've written," and I've forgotten a couple of them, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I wrote a piece about that," so yeah, I don't know if that happens to you or if that's just me getting old or something. I'm like, "Wait, I wrote something on that? When
Well,
did that happen?"
I've been writing columns professionally since 2002. So I did well over 100 for Parkland Life magazine over the years because I was there for 13 years. And really, it was 12 to 13 columns a month. And what I meant was if Mindy needed something extra, she'd call me up and say, "Can you write something about camping?" And oh, yeah, I definitely got two camping stories for you. So, and they're both short, so put them together and it'll be like 600 words. She's perfect, great. So anyway, um, so I've written a lot of stuff, but yeah, it absolutely happens to me. I was a paragraph in to literally my latest column. Well, November's, because December I did the poem, but November's, and all of a sudden I went, wait a minute, I think I did this before. And
Oh,
and sure enough, yep, I had done this for either Famous Monsters or Mondo Cult or Undying Monsters or Parkland Life or the website, which would have been the most embarrassing. Yeah, you did it for this. Yeah. So anyhow,
Have
but
you
yes,
seen have you seen, the movie with the Foo Fighters, the horror movie they did?
no, not
It
yet.
it's like a
oh,
Scooby-Doo thing because it's them as characters,
Right. And I
and
love
they
them.
rent a haunted house so they can write their new album, and there's a scene with Dave Grohl. He's like, okay, I got a new riff for you. And he plays it, and it's, a song they've done before. And they're like, we did that on our first album. And he's like, oh, what about this one? And it's like, that was our biggest hit, really. I don't know why you're,
I
that's what that
mean,
reminded
yeah,
That's great.
it isn't broken.
That's great.
Well, some filmmakers just lean into that, Dario
Right.
Argento. It's like, so you're doing a movie about a gloved killer in a hat and a trench coat. Didn't you do that before? It's like, oh, but this be different. This is
right. Yeah. I love the Rick brought this up a couple of months ago, is the fact that you just, if it's in an Argento movie, you just take it for granted. Oh, it's a room filled with barbed wire. Sure.
Right.
Okay.
Why not?
Or razor wire. It was even worse. It was razor wire. And you just go, okay, yeah.
I believe it.
That's why I don't get anyone who doesn't like Phenomena. Because I'm like, they're like, oh, they had a psychic girl. It's like, and that's weird. Why?
Yeah,
Right.
If it was a John Carpenter movie, I could see you go, okay, that's out of the norm. But this is Argento. Anything at that point shouldn't surprise you.
Yep, absolutely. It's just bizarre. I never questioned that razor wire room until Rick brought it up, and then I'm like, what am I, an idiot? Of course. What?
Why is your room filled with this stuff?
There you go.
Did I ask myself that when I first watched it? I did, which is why I posed it to Ricky, but
No, I said nothing about it, and I thought nothing about it, and it was like, and I guess that's just the piece of Argento that you bring with you to the experience, but still,
suspension.
I mean, I still could say, look,
you think like his crew people is what you do, because his crew people, don't question them. They're just like,
no,
all right, man, maybe that's what you want.
Anyway, I just find so many good stories about the website and the podcast. I'm an extremely lucky man.
Oh, fantastic! We can hear you. Beautiful.
I had to put my headset on. How you guys doing?
Hi.
Really wonderful.
Good to see you guys.
You too.
It's been wonderful working with you. You're also photogenic.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And I'm loving the podcast. You guys are doing an amazing job.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate
lovely having you here.
And did you all have a nice Christmas?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yes, we did.
Unfortunately, it just went too fast. So now we're looking forward to New Year, and I'm looking forward to what you guys are going to do in the new year. So I'm going to go. I just wanted to stop by and say hello, tell you guys I love you, and wish you all a very happy and a healthy new year.
Thank you. We love you too.
Same to you.
Love you, Eileen.
And
I love you, Kathy.
Just before she leaves, she's the photographer. She's the one who makes me look presentable. So I really appreciate that. Okay, so
all right, guys.
Yay!
Thanks for
keeping this guy honest.
Love you all.
Love you.
Love you too. Bye.
No, the podcast, I got to say, took a little arm twisting though. You were you had a lot of like stipulations, man. You were just like, I don't know, I might just listen in for a while. Then it turned into, all right, fine, but you're not going to see my face. I'm going to have, it's like, all right, well, you can do an emoji or something. He's like, oh, emo what? And I'm just like, a picture. You can do a picture, basically.
Picture, yeah.
And he's like, oh, okay. And then it turned into somehow, I don't know where. I don't know if it was your prodding Kathy or if it was Eileen kicking him in the ass. He was finally like, yeah, you know what? Fine. We're gonna do this. It's fine. It's fine. You're gonna be on, right? Okay, all right, fine. So I'm not the only ugly guy. Okay, we got that.
Well, then the other thing was that they weren't going to go any longer than 47 minutes because that's and of course we've done podcasts that are 3 times longer than that.
For the record, I never told you. I was like, I heard you. Kind of like you taking advice. You may not use it, but you listen to it. That's what I did with you. In my mind, I'm like, all right, if this show will be anything like our conversations on the phone, there is no way in hell we're doing 47 minutes. If I had $1 for every time, especially when we were talking about the website initially, if I had $1 for every time one of the kids poked their head into the garage or Callie poked their head into the garage, it's like, Yeah, still talking.
That's
It's
where he
kind of like
takes his
Leslie
calls.
Nielsen in an airplane when the door keeps opening. It's, it's that type of thing. It's like, yep, okay.
Yep. Yeah, and Kathy and I have those conversations too, and it's and now that we chat every day, we don't physically talk as much on the phone, but
Right.
we're in constant contact with each other.
We
And
are.
but we would have 2-hour conversations without even thinking about it.
Easily. And
Yeah.
couldn't believe that we were on the phone as long as we were
Yep.
or are. It
Yep.
just flew by. It
Yep.
flies by every time.
Yeah, it does. And my telltale sign is when my arm starts falling asleep holding the phone.
Yeah.
That's when it's like, wait a minute.
Oh, maybe that's the timer. It's like, okay, I have to let you
Yeah.
go now. I'll talk to you again, probably in the next few hours. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just, and so this is great that first of all, Kathy and I can talk this way from now on, and
Yes.
the second thing is that Rick said we are doing a podcast every time we get on the phone together.
Yep.
You're just not recording it. And I'm like,
That's it. The only difference.
and I'm like, oh God, no, it can't be that easy, and it is. So what's the shortest edited podcast that we've done?
Our very first one, because I was still learning. So literally, I just added pictures that we cut to. Yeah, and we didn't have nearly as much extra stuff. So as I've learned this craft, as well as any creative things I wanted to add to it, like the graphics and or just little touches that I feel are technically me, I think it's gotten better. But the time spent editing is probably just just turning your conversations into manageable chunks. That's really it, because you guys really love to verge.
Yeah.
I was going to say, and to do a verge for you, which should be the subtitle of our show, should be MonsterKid Fury, The Verge. I want to let everyone know that this woman had zero interest, history, training, and editing whatsoever. And she taught herself how to do this stuff.
Yeah, that's
And
amazing.
I marvel at it.
Yeah. I happen to think we have the best editor on the planet.
Hey,
and that's on the website and on the podcast. I think that you two are gems.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to be a part of this group, because
I'm
you guys
very
are awesome.
happy too.
Right?
It's a great group.
Well, we I appreciate it more than I can say. Last year, we did pretty well as far as the rondos goes. We got an honorable mention, and which, by the way, I didn't catch on quickly. Rick was the one who told me, and it wasn't lack of interest, although it was the first ceremony I had ever missed. Since the columnist category was invented. That was not a day one thing. I think Lucas and David Show got on, Tim Lucas, and they started columns, and then I guess David Colton decide that well, yeah, we'll do a category. I think if it was just me and people like my friends, I don't know that there would have been a category, but the biggies started getting involved, and that's what happened. So anyway, since then I have watched or listened to every ceremony. I've been part of every ceremony there was, and it just I don't know what happened. I completely forgot about it.
And I had posted about it on Facebook. I was, like, all proud of it, and Kathy read it, so when you talked to Kathy, she's like, "Yeah, we were nominated." Which I
Yeah.
thought was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's huge. I mean, I really do. So, and we're gonna get better, but that was our first full year. And
I have a question about the rondos. Are
yes,
they is it a ceremony that's strictly online, or do they have like a gathering place?
the voting ceremony, or the where they say who the winners are,
Mhm.
is online. It's at the
'Kay.
CHFB. You get a link, and it's just scrolling. I mean, it looks like the old, DOS kind of thing, where it scrolls constantly.
Gotcha.
A- And the weird part is, by the time you come up with something clever to say, they've moved on. So anyway, it's just so. Uh, but when you win one, which I've yet to do because I'm the Susan Lucci of the Rondos. Um, when you win something, if at all possible, they try to do it at conventions. Now, David comes to a fair amount of Monster Bashes. The first one of the year, he's almost always there, and it's one of the highlights of my convention, because I love having him there, because he doesn't have any kind of entitlement, but you can tell he's big. He's the guy. And so anyway, but he'll go to Wonderfest, and I believe he goes to Dragon Con. And if you're there, he will bring your award with him, and there will be some form of ceremony.
The
So
presentation. I
yeah,
love it.
yeah. So
Mhm.
and I think that's great. Again, but I've never experienced it. But that's okay.
Not yet. Not
Not
yet.
yet.
One day.
No, yeah, not yet. Hope springs eternal.
Absolutely.
I mean, Susan Lucci finally won.
She
Yeah.
did.
I can't remember how many years it took, so like 16 or 17.
Took a while.
Yeah, it took a while.
Uh-huh.
So I have been, and I've been nominated every year that there's been the award, except for
Mhm.
last year, because because I had on there the website, and that's what got nominated. So that's fine. That's cool. I'd rather have it about the site than about me. Now, mind you, if they would like to give me best columnist, that I'm not going to turn it down. But I think I think what we have um, is pretty damn special.
Agreed. So I'm going to bring this back around to the reason for this particular podcast episode, if you will, is because we're talking about where we came from and then where we're going. Kathy, would you like to regale us with how you met Rich and how you guys got together?
Wow, how much time have you got on here?
All you need. We can record many, many hours.
And have
And
And
yeah.
have.
Well, I was a preschool and kindergarten teacher for 30 years.
Oh.
But when I was in college, I minored in English. But before the internet and Google and everything, people would come to me in the building and they would say, "Would you read this for me?" Or how do you spell blank, or that kind of thing. I was kind of the go-to person for anything like that. So I proofread my husband's work when he was in law school, and it just kind of came natural for me to do that. And so I did that a little bit for Rich. He would send something and he'd say, "Look this over." And "Well, isn't that right, Rich?" And then
yeah,
Eileen said, "Well, hello.
exactly. I said,
She was an educator for 30 years, and why don't you ask her to be the editor?" And I didn't even think about it. I wouldn't have gone to him and said, I'd like to be the editor. It didn't cross my mind. I was just excited about the website and very supportive and looking forward to it.
And I'm shocked that at no time did she say, by the way, you need an editor.
Yeah. So that's how that happened. But
Mhm.
it's kind of a gift to that I have to be able to do that. And thinking about it from the past years, I always helped other people with that kind of thing, just because I'm able to do it.
And
And
it is a
as
gift. It is something that
it
not everybody can do, so you have a very excellent talent in that.
No, everybody has gifts, and they have things where they excel.
Mhm.
And I love doing this job, and I enjoy it, and I put a lot of time into it and try to be as thorough as I possibly can.
Mhm.
So the reason Kathy and I are friends is that way back in 2000, um,
Mhm.
uh,
October,
yeah,
October.
October, yeah, she bid on something that I had on eBay. It was a Vincent Price Horror Hall of Fame
Oh.
cassette, and what happens is, in between the time that she won and I was getting ready to ship it, my mom had passed,
Ah.
and and she had also written me an email because that's what you used to do. You used to
Yes.
write an email and say, "I won your," and I'll be sending out a money order, et cetera, back in the day, and she commented, "By the way, I really like your uh, eBay ID, which is Karloff." And
Mhm.
it's not Karloff 47916, kind of thing. It's just
Oh,
Karloff because
just Karloff.
I was there in the beginning. Same thing with AOL. So
Yes.
anyway, she said, I'm a big fan of Boris Karloff, a big fan of horror, and it sat there. The email sat there for a little bit because I was trying desperately to pull my shit together after mom passed, and I
Mhm.
finally got back to her and said, I'm so sorry it's taken this long. It's going out tomorrow. I had a family thing happen, and she said, "Oh, I hope it wasn't too, She wrote back, "I hope it wasn't too, bad for you." And I said, "No, well, it was my mom," and you know, and we just emailed back and forth after she won, and then that turned into being able to do phone calls and share favorite TV shows. So I mean, I would actually send them on CDs because because it was before. So I would send stuff on either VHS or CDs,
Yep.
Hmm.
um, and
Because that's how we shared stuff before.
Uh-huh.
exactly. And we became fans of, besides the fact that we were fans of the same thing, we became fans of a lot of stuff like Buffy and Angel and X-Files and Millennium, and I mean, it was a huge list, and Walking Dead,
Oh, yeah.
so anyways, we have been friends for that entire amount of time since 2000. Now, what isn't as evident is this is literally the first time we're ever seeing each other at a conversation.
First time. Can
First
you
time
Yes.
believe it?
ever. This is the
That's
first
wild.
time I
It is
know how
wild.
she moves, and
And how
whatever.
she's speaking, yeah,
Yeah,
while she's talking, yes.
right. And in and we're shooting for March that we're going to go visit her. So
Uh-huh.
we're actually going
That's
to be
awesome.
able,
Yay!
because I got to get a hug, man. It's been freaking
Yeah.
25 years, you know?
Yeah, it will be our 25th year that you all visit, so that's a good time to
Absolutely.
do it.
So the author, April Snellings, went to San Francisco. She's a friend of mine. And so is Bill Selby, and he is a famous Monsters cover artist, and
Ooh.
among other things. And he and I have been friends for God only knows how long. And the funny thing was, I would always say, "Bill, you're so damn talented. Thank God you don't write, And then I found out that he wrote a Twilight Zone
Whoops.
episode. It was like, well, fuck that. So anyway, I didn't stand it. I don't stand a chance. So anyway, what happened was Bill and April happened to be in about the same area of California, near San Francisco. April was working, and Bill was living out in San Francisco, and they got a chance to meet. And I got a message one day that they really missed me, which I thought was wonderful, and they both sat around and talked about me for
Wow.
an entire lunch, and which I'm sure was not an entire lunch, but anyway. So then all of a sudden, Bill and I got a chance to actually meet. So it was very close to the full circle. And then I thought, if I can get up to Tennessee to spend some time with April, the three of us will have been together in a kind of a wacky way.
Yes.
And so when we go up to finally meet the Bennetts, Kathy and Randy, I'm going to just make a little verge and go up to meet April and her wife and their child. Anyway, it really is. It's wonderful. I would like to discuss two things that we may have coming very soon. One thing I know about, which is we are going to have an author who is going to write a guest column for us, and
Ooh.
that author is Lane McCrory. I want to
Okay.
make sure did I get that right, Kathy?
Yeah, Lane McCurry.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Just wanted to make absolutely sure.
Yeah. Yes.
And she is a phenom. And Rick, you have never seen anything quite like this, because I'm almost positive her first story sold, and then it was her next story and the next, and I'm like, holy crap, this kid
Yeah.
hasn't lost a step. I mean, she keeps coming out with stuff, and I'm like, I keep waiting, and I don't mean this excitedly, but I mean, I keep waiting to hear, well, that didn't sell, and I haven't heard it yet. So she is a horror fan, and she's just terrific, and she has said that she was going to, and we're going to try and do that by the spring. So I'm going to be getting in touch with her probably in the next week or six, depending on when I can. The other thing is that I have a good friend named Ed Naha, who is a famous screenwriter and a famous.
Okay, I got just 1
Okay,
second, boss.
here we
I
go.
gotta step on you. Here we go,
Here we
because all right,
go.
I stepped on his words anyways. We're gonna create an animation. Now that our beautiful producer and editor can now animate stuff, even if it is just a dead shark flipping over, we're gonna take a picture of you with a little hand dropping, and it'll be name, drop, drop. So when you start talking about these things, that little animation's gonna come out like the Noid or the Whammy from that game show, and it'll just be like Rich dropping a name. The man will
But
do that when we're on the phone, like, oh yeah, but so I was talking to Gary Gerani, who co-wrote Pumpkinhead, and
and I
he
don't
says it
say
like,
that. He knows
and,
that. So,
and
but
he says it like, oh, my son Derek came into the room. That just flippant and just, oh yeah, I was talking to Gary the other day.
well, because I've known Gary since 1987, 86 or 87. We've known each other for the longest time. You know, but so I have been friends, Facebook friends. We've never met, but I've been friends with Ed Naha for a long time, and I will tell you that besides his other talents, it's rare to get me to laugh like he can get me to laugh. And what he used to do, there we go. Ed, yeah, Ed had something to do with that, right?
Yeah, he wrote that. The
Yeah, he
greatest,
wrote
most
it.
detailed making of this movie.
Yeah.
Amazing book.
So anyway, he did a Corman book, and at around 1980 or so, Bob Haggerty, who you guys know is my brother from another mother, gave it to me and wrote something lovely on the inside of it. And it was terrific. And it was a book that I literally read in one sitting. I couldn't put this down. So that book, I'm not proud to say that book's been in the kitchen. It's been in the bathroom. It's been in just about every place I've gone because I wouldn't put the book down. So when I became Facebook friends with Ed, he was doing something that I now do, which is, yup, it's Monday. And he did that, and then he disappeared for a while, and I think it was health related, but he disappeared for a while. So I took it over and figured when he came back, I'd give it back to him. And but he used to also do It's the Weekend. And that is even funnier than the other one because it basically shows drunk people lying on the ground that, got sick on themselves and stuff like that. And he'll say something like, Billy practicing for the weekend, something like that. And they just struck me as funny. Well, he still does those, but I now do, Yup, It's Monday. Anyway, I am putting feelers out now to try desperately to get him to be a guest columnist for us. And then if he does the guest columnist, then we got to get him on the podcast because this guy is big time. And
because I have 1,000,001 questions about Troll. I want to ask him so much about that movie. I love that movie so much.
Yep. And so I mean we're really looking forward to it. And so he's target number one. I want him on the website. I want him on a podcast.
And then the other thing we're working on currently, and this was actually going to be in December, but there were some unfortunate losses, and on his end of things, we're going to be talking to screenwriter Victor Miller, the co-creator essentially of Friday the 13th, the original film. And it's going to be interesting to talk to him because he's not just a screenwriter for horror, but he wrote for television soaps back in the day, which one of my colleagues who wants to be on the show is so excited about because he wrote for Guiding Light, which is his favorite soap opera as a teenager, apparently.
I loved that one.
And I know Rich loves talking to people who also worked in television because you guys have a lot in connected there.
Yep.
So.
Even when they're not obviously connected, the scheduling is always connected, and you're like, you end up pulling your hair out, kind of thing. Which
it's the same dynamics, right? You're
Yeah.
writing, you guys are working on syndicated TV, and you have or broadcast TV, and you have insane deadlines. But so does the guy writing the soap opera.
Yep.
Probably even more so because they're doing it every day.
Absolutely. It's scary. There's nothing about the soap opera world that I want professionally because, oh my goodness. And there's places where you can see bloopers. The bottom line is, though, my question is, when wouldn't there be? I mean, they had to do everything live. Everything has to hold up perfectly. The writing, the acting, the sets, everything. Come on, what are the chances of that?
It's a lot of pressure.
Not to mention when you have dialogue, crazy stuff like, you mean Robert didn't die? No, he's not dead. But he got hit by a train and fell down an
He's just in a
80-foot
coma.
Minecraft. Well,
right,
how could he not be it?
He's in a coma till the contract dispute's over.
or it's a twin brother.
Oh God, the twin.
Oh God.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yep.
Yep.
Who turns out to be the real guy because he kills his twin brother and then takes over his identity.
I don't know if I ever mentioned it, but my wife used to do what was that? Days of Our Lives.
Oh my goodness.
And the reason I remember Days of Our Lives because every single time the credits came on, I would sound as much like McDonald Carey as I could, and I would say, like shit through a goose. These are the days of our life. So anyway, she would watch that, and all of a sudden, the statuesque blonde woman, I can't remember her name, but she was probably the most famous woman on the soap, started floating above the bed and
Oh,
with the covers on, and they were going into a possession kind of thing. And Eileen looked at me and said, "I'm done." And that, I said, "But it's just getting good." Nope,
the
nope,
stuff you're
that's it.
interested in. Yeah, she
I'm
is
done.
not.
Yeah.
And I said, "I'm going to record this for you for like the next month. So when you change your mind, I won't." Okay. And she hasn't watched an episode since. But she used to, it was an every single day thing.
I'm
But
telling
yeah,
you, sometimes, when your shows that are normal that verge into horror, like we've talked about the episodes that have the specials, like the Christmas specials as well as the
right.
Halloween specials, if they're not a horror show anyway, you're not going to be a fan of those. So a lot of people, Eileen being one of those people,
Right.
it's just,
Yep.
yeah, okay.
Not
No need
interested.
to, yeah, exactly.
And I'm
Well, I know
sitting
is
there. Go ahead.
okay. No, go ahead.
And I'm sitting there going, but Route 66, it's Karloff, it's Lon Chaney Jr., and it's Peter Lorre, and they're playing monsters, and nothing.
Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, that's what I would, during October, I would make it a point to watch anything that became a horror centric or Halloween episode. Even
Yep.
shows like, oh, it's a terrifying Saint Elsewhere, such and such, and I'm like, I'm watching it. I don't like that
Yeah.
show, but I'll watch it.
Go
Yep.
through the
That's
TV guides and look for what you're going to watch in that month.
Yeah.
I
I
used to
know.
do that.
Me
I'm still
too.
mad that Spencer for Hire never had a
Yeah.
Halloween episode. I'm like, come on, man. Robert Ulrich trying to solve a murder mystery would be amazing right now. But we never had that happen.
So I'm just going to bring this up for folks who might not know what this was, but a TV guide used to be a book that was
Oh,
published
I'm
and
old.
released. Nah, baby, nah. But this book was published and it was a paperback book that you would get. And it had all the listings of all the shows that were on TV at the time, the times, descriptions. There were cool pictures sometimes. Again, sometimes there were even like interviews with people, I thought, right?
Right.
Oh,
Articles,
yeah.
interviews,
Yeah.
and a business page called the Grapevine, Hollywood Grapevine.
There
Yeah.
you go. And it was just a
Yeah.
really great resource, but
It
most of
was.
all,
Yes.
folks used it because we wanted to know when things were coming on. So
Yeah.
going on there and yes, mapping out, okay, I'm going to watch this show, this
Yes.
movie.
Yep.
Excellent.
Back.
I've had a
Definitely plan.
I've
Back
had a
when.
handful of times in my life where I felt old. One of the oldest I felt was when I'm showing my kids The Lost Boys, and they don't understand the joke from Grandpa about if you have a TV guide,
Yeah.
you don't need TV, and they're just like looking at me. It's like, oh shit. All right, once upon a time.
Yeah.
Back in the dark times. Yeah, and horror movies. Horror movies were called at the beginning were called melodramas.
Yeah.
If you saw
Melodrama.
melodramas, yeah, I swear to God, it's if you
Yes.
saw a melodrama, it man, oh man, you were psyched.
Hmm.
That's so
I
funny.
think every horror fan went through TV Guide, especially looking at the times after midnight,
Yeah,
because you wanted to see what obscure horror film would be shown on syndicated TV late at night.
yeah.
Four
It
Flies
became
on
your
Grey Velvet. The first time I watched that was at 2 o'clock in the morning on like Channel 44 in the Bay Area. I was just like, gotta stay up for it because my VCR wasn't recording at the time,
Yeah.
and my mom was so angry. She's like, "Why do you look so bad right now?" Remember that Dario Argento guy I was telling you about? Where they showed one of his movies, and she was just so upset. She's like, "Oh, we're gonna get a VCR that works. You can't do this."
well, it must have been nice to have a VCR when you were young. I, on the
Oh,
other hand, did not. I had to sketch pad them. I just no, I'm just kidding. But no. What I used to do is I used to record them on cassette. So I'd get audio. So
mhm.
and I still have some of those
Oh,
today. But I've been told on many occasions that I have a good command of the English language. When I'm writing fiction, I write like people speak, which I'm
Hmm.
thrilled about. And that's because I would fall asleep to uh, audio recordings of MASH and Night Stalker and anything else that was brilliantly written.
Yes.
Twilight Zones, and it gets into you. I mean, it really does. It's not like I woke up one morning and said "Portrait of the Man," that kind of thing. That wasn't it. But
if only.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But it gives you a feel that when you wake up, you think you're smarter. So and look, as long as you think you're smarter, it doesn't matter if you are or not.
Talk the talk. That's what it comes down to.
Exactly. Or you could go by Mark Twain's better that people think you're an idiot than to open your mouth and prove it.
That's a great quote, though.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, it has been such a pleasure to have Kathy with us because we desperately love her, and of course she could ruin all our lives
not a chance.
By showing by showing what we send to her, because what we send to her, especially Rick and I, is like, I don't know how the hell she even sorts it out, but it was great having you.
It was very nice to be here, and I enjoyed it, and I look forward to coming back in the future. Love to.
Absolutely. Great. Well,
can't wait to see you again, madame.
Thank you, and Happy New Year.
All right.
Happy New
Love
Year
you.
to you.
Okay, love you. Bye.
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 Hello and welcome to MonsterKid Fury. I'm Callie. Here with me is Rich of MonsterKid Central. Hi, Rich.
Howdy.
And Rick of Film Fury. Hi, Ricky.
Why is it so dark in here? I'm confused.
And we have our special New Year's show going on. So we're going to have guest appearances by Melissa, also of MonsterKid Central.
Hi.
Yay.
So, how was your Christmas, Melissa?
It was good. Lots of family over, minimum fighting, all in all, a good Christmas.
That's what we always hope for. Minimal. She didn't say no fighting. She said
right. No, minimal fighting.
The throw of a glass, a couple of punches swung. That's about it.
Yeah, but after that, some light dusting and the place looks fine.
Do you guys have any plans for New Year's?
Well, we're going to a party called the Midnight Circus.
Hey, that sounds cool.
That sounds very cool.
Yeah, I have a friend who's DJing the event, so she talked me into going. I was like, I don't know, my bedtime's normally 9 o'clock, so we'll see.
You're too young to get to bed so early.
We were watching Squid Game the other night, and there's a nightclub rave scene, and Callie turns to our daughter, and it's like, Mama wants to do that. She wants to go to a rave. I'm like, you go to bed at 10 o'clock. How are you going to go to a rave? You're going to be just tired. She'll be like, all right, I got to get home. I'm exhausted at this point.
Well, many years ago, I was driving behind this guy, and he was plastered, and I could tell. So I was following him to make sure that he got home okay. And as we're getting closer to where I lived, he's still in front of me. He lived on the same property as I did. And he stopped to get his mail, and he stumbles out of the car, and I say to him, dude, you hurt any of my kids, and I will fuck you up big time. And he's like, I'm not that bad. Anyway, Eileen and I decided no St. Patrick's Day, no New Year's Eve anymore. So
no partying.
Nope, that's it.
Oh, so responsible. I love it. It's definitely a good thing.
It is.
Bed at 10 o'clock. All right. So do you guys want to go ahead and wish everybody all the good things for the new year and such?
Absolutely.
If we have to, sure.
Of course, horror podcast. Why are we going to do nice stuff?
Actually, I did forget. So, Melissa, did you want to do like a recap of where you've been and where you're hoping to go for the new year?
Oh my goodness. That's a lot to break down.
Well, how did you get involved with MonsterKid
You guys.
Yeah, yeah, them.
Through me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the help of you guys, Kalanita told me about it, and then she convinced me to write an article to submit to Rich. And thankfully, Rich liked what I had to write, and here I am.
Sensational. It was terrific. It really was. Loved it. And I was thrilled to have somebody who could cover games, because that's not my thing. Like I said, I'm from the Castle Wolfenstein days, so that's like 1,000 years ago. So
yeah, but that one's still a classic.
Oh yeah, it is, but still, I mean, gosh, I'm thrilled to have you aboard, and I really want big things this year too. So
I think 2025 is our year, guys.
I think so too.
That would be nice to get Monster Kid recognized by more people.
Yep.
And just, have a wider range of people that we reach out to. That would be great.
Absolutely.
Okay, so do you guys have anything to add?
No, I think I'm good. I'm going to just start off the whole thing. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And Melissa, anything you want to say?
Happy New Year.
Same here. Happy New Year.
Hope you guys have lots of fun.
Happy New Year to you all out there, and definitely keep watching us next year.
I love you guys, and I hope you have a great New Year.
You too, Chief.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
So yeah, the other thing we're working a lot on in 2025 is to grow our universe, if you will. All these shows, MonsterKid Fury, what's going to be Film Fury, and then obviously a MonsterKid standalone video podcast. All of it kind of gets umbrellaed under the Film Fury Entertainment website, the YouTube page. And we have a lot going on there, including we're still working on, and I can't give you huge details because it hasn't happened yet, but we're hoping to acquire the rights to something that we can do a reboot sequel to. And it'll be an exclusive for our website. You can order it through there and whatnot. And if we can, fingers crossed, if we can make it happen, it's going to be a fun project. And I will get to work as a co-writer with El Capitan down there, and that should be interesting.
And by the way, don't listen to the rumors. It's not the reboot of the Partridge Family. So just wanted to put that out there. That's horseshit.
You told me it was a 60s, 70s sitcom. I immediately thought Partridge Family.
Well, of course you would. So would I. But
disappointment. I'm disappointed now.
Yeah, it does. It hurts.
But we're also working on having our own official action figure, not of us by any means, but
oh man, I'm really disappointed.
Oh my god!
Well, I'll take a Cali figure, but yeah, no. Anyways, so we'll have removable. Never mind.
Oh man!
But it'll be an action figure that hopefully has never been made by anyone else.
Yeah.
And it'll kind of help promote us, and it'll work into another thing. We'll be moving into 2025. We personally, being Callie and I, are going to move back into the convention scene because a lot of you know us. That's how I met Rich, was from a convention. We're planning to do that again. And we're going to do it as a consolidated thing. It'll be the consolidation of, hey, here's the stuff you would usually buy from us. And over here, this is the MonsterKid Fury film entertainment, merch, t-shirts, all these things that we're working on.
Yes.
So Rich is working on a t-shirt of himself. Just kidding. But
I don't want a t-shirt of me.
I do. I want your logo, your artwork, with you there at the typewriter, I think that'd be a great one to have. But we're working on that, and we're working on a new old movie, a movie that I made in 1994 called Hard Edge, which isn't horror, but it's an action homage to Walter Hill and John Woo. We're working on a 2024 version of it. Well, it's going to be 2025, because at the time when we made it, we just didn't have a lot of things, including female leads and whatnot.
Women.
We had no women in our original cut of the film, even though there's full scenes of people talking to a woman on the phone. So
yeah, it was a
things
real
like
sausage
that.
party.
Oh, absolutely. To the point where people are like, "Is this is this a gay movie? Because it kind of seems like a gay movie because
Oh,
you guys don't have
geez.
women in this movie. It's like he even has dialogue, which is kind of inferred as gay. It's like it's not gay. They're just really good friends. Okay, that's all. But uh, but it's kind of like my chance to. I'm using it because I did a standalone episode talking about Hard Edge, which thank you guys for watching because we hit like 200 hits on it, which was really wild
Pretty
for a
impressive.
movie no one's ever heard of. Yeah, I was really amazed. Uh, it's a movie that's come to my life 3 times. The first time was in 1994 because we were just trying to get something off the ground. It was around the time of Sex, Lies, and Videotape and Reservoir Dogs. So the whole idea of making a movie for a real low budget and putting it out there at the hopes of being picked up at Sundance by the Weinsteins or someone else was like a big deal. Um, it didn't happen. We made it. We were happy with it, but we are like, okay, we'll use this to go work for Roger Corman. We'll go knock on the door and get a job. But then my mom died, and that became a weird kind of thing. And we did another version of the movie where we added some new scenes in. So it was kind of my way of dealing, coping with my mom's death. So we did that, and it's all fun and well, but everyone had split up by that time. Certain actors went off to do other stuff, like real jobs. I went and had kids and a real job. And one of our guys, a good friend of mine, Ronaldo Cruz, passed away. So we just kind of looked at it as, well, that's a time stamp for us, and it's just something we did. Well, after the heart attack, and I'm getting ready to go back into making movies again, the kids, for not this Christmas but previous Christmas, had saved up, and they went and bought a new Mac Mini with all the editing software, everything I would need to get back into filmmaking, essentially. And it just seemed natural. Like, well, why don't I take Hard Edge, scan it, remaster it, and clean it up, fix the audio, which turned into, ooh, I could shoot a new scene here, or hey, we could get actual actresses to play some characters. We could do all these different things. And it's turned into an interesting endeavor.
Yeah.
We incorporated new storylines, and we've been able to expand on stuff. And I'm looking forward to showing that to you guys. We dropped a trailer for it that was really well received. And we've actually, thanks to I've kind of had a whole bunch of new producers jump onto the project. So, our editor producer from the show, she's acting as a producer in terms of acquiring the new locations we're going to shoot in and doing production design. She's going to help make file folders for scenes and stuff, props, if you will. Um, a guy named Joel Robertson that you guys will know from a show called Retro Movie Geek and the Mom and Pop Video Shop on YouTube. He is a video fanatic. He loves shot on video films of all kinds, but in particular horror, but he just loves the aesthetic of it. He actually sent me a camera circa the same year of the previous camera we had used to make the movie. So instead of using filters, we're going to actually use tech from the time to shoot these new scenes, which I'm
Yep.
really jazzed about.
Yeah.
So he's come aboard, and we've heard some rumblings that there's a good chance we might be able to get it released on a boutique video label, which would be really fun to have a Blu-ray of my movie, my little movie, with a slipcase and everything, with elaborate art, which makes the movie look so much bigger than it is. It's like, is there an explosion from a building? No, but we wanted one, so hey,
Right.
why not?
It's it's
Uh,
it's it's Roger Corman's exploding helicopter.
exactly. So,
Every
and
trailer.
and it's funny because it's just kind of neat because everyone in my life right now is now blending with my life from 1994.
Yeah. Yep. It's very exciting. It really is. And
Yeah, so because Rich is, if all goes well, will be having a cameo in the film as a mafia boss, which is interesting. If all
because
goes well, him and one other person.
yeah, because when you look at me, you instantly think Italian mob. It's it's just,
Um,
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
well, I have to tell you, there was an episode of The Untouchable. I used to watch The Untouchables because it was just, to me, it was the most ridiculous damn show, early television, and what would because what would happen is Walter Winchell, who was an announcer who did the news, uh, was the official narrator of the show. So you would get something like, this car comes around the corner, and right behind it, I mean like 4 feet right behind it, there's another car coming around the corner, and you'd hear, following at a safe distance, Elliot Ness, and it's like, safe distance? So
it was like on his ass.
right. So anyway, I'm watching one episode, and this is the reason for the quick verge, is the fact that 2 Italian brothers, and it was like Guido and Luigi. Wow, there's some, and so you would get lines like, Guido, my eyes, I'm a blind. So anyway, that's the kind of realism you're going to get out of me, boy.
I'm not even Italian, and I'm triggered at the fact that just because I say mob, you're like, I don't look Italian. It's like, why would you say that? I could have been talking about the triads. Why are you saying this? But yeah, hopefully, I have a couple of plans for you to work off someone that either way they go is going to be interesting. So,
okay.
But I just think it's really special to me that, again, these people that I know now are going to be incorporated into this thing, and including my wife. She'll have a voice cameo as a radio DJ at one scene. Joel, again, he's actually recorded along with a actor buddy of his. They've done some remarkable DJ sequences that are going to be sprinkled throughout the movie that are just amazing stuff. Also, Brian Smith, an actor that I met through some colleagues, he is also a songwriter and musician, and he is donating 2 songs for the film. So it's like we're actually going to be able to have this cool thing on credits. Original songs by is going to be just a cool credit to see. And I think it's just going to be a fun little thing on a personal level.
Sorry.
Oh wow. The demonic toy showed up at your house.
Right? I was waiting for it to burst open. Oh, sorry.
Our Hellraiser.
Where'd Rich go?
But I think it's going to be a great first step back into filmmaking. And not to mention that our next projects after that are all going to be. It's funny. I'm a horror guy who made an action movie for his first movie, which is kind of funny.
Did make an action movie.
And the next one that we're working on is we have 2 projects, and it's either going to be one that's been mentioned before called Cut Down the Middle, or another one that I'm really falling in love with called Patchwork. And either way, you guys are going to be able, through MonsterKid and through the YouTube show and the podcast, you're going to be able to see like a step-by-step of the entire production and everything, which I'm excited about.
I think that's great.
The other thing I'm hoping we do more of this year, because we did one just for S&Gs, was a commentary. Callie and I did a commentary for Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, which was a blast. It was real fun. It's not the greatest movie, but it's an enjoyable movie to watch if you're talking about it, just because of the actors involved.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of hoping we can do that with Rich, bring him in and just, during it, talk about the movie, talk about your memories of the movie. I'm sure it'll, go down different roads of how we first saw that particular film. We're doing a commentary for.
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to doing those, as well as hopefully more guests. That's the biggest thing. I really hope we get to do more, because the guests we had this year, man, amazing.
Right.
Mark Sheffield
Our first
from
one,
Last House
Mark.
on the Left. Oh yeah, Mark was just. It was so great because he had so much to say about Wes Craven that called out to me. Had so much about working in the television industry like Rich had. So that really called out to him. So it was great. We both had our moments with him to kind of geek boy about, prospective loves and interests.
Oh, hell yeah. So if you have not seen Mark's episode, you need to. It's amazing. And then we had John D. Hancock. As a guest, and he was sensational too.
Yes. Rich, do you have any last things for 2024 that you'd like to share?
I'm glad we all got out of here alive, and I'm looking forward to everything that we can do in 2025 If we can do a portion of them, man, we're gonna rock this year. So stay tuned.
I love it. And what about you, sweetheart? Do you have anything that you'd like to say for closing out 2024?
2024, you slowed me down, but you didn't bring me down. And as far as 2025, bring it on, Leprechaun, because I've seen all of them.
Oh my goodness.
All of them.
That little guy's freaky, just by the way.
But it's Willow. It's your guy.
Freaky. He's still freaky. As the leprechaun, he's still freaky.
And there's one that they do in space.
Leprechaun in space?
Mm-hmm. I'm
he went
almost
to the
positive.
hood twice. Yeah, he went to the hood twice and space once.
Dang. Little guy's crazy.
Just like Jason.
He's been to the hood twice as well, and
well, not twice, but he's been to Manhattan.
Space one.
Yeah, he's been to space. And by the way, the space one, there's just something about it that I can't turn it off if it's on TV.
You like it.
And it's no, I can't. No, I didn't say I like it, but
okay.
Train
wreck, you gotta keep watching it.
I do have trouble. Yeah, I have trouble turning it off.
Well, then on that note, thank you everybody for tuning in. We do appreciate you watching us for what we consider not work, because this is incredibly fun for us.
Yeah.
And you've seen what we've done, and we've talked about the things that we'd like to do in the future. So please stay tuned. Have a good year. Thank you so much.
Adios, people.
Bye.